We are very, very lucky today, everybody, because we have Arden Young joining us here today on The Warriors. Arden is an investigative reporter, a journalist. She left Hollywood and acting, and we're going to find out all about Arden to become a really sought after, because I was just saying to her that she's been popping up all over on my platforms lately. So I need to find out more, and we need to find out more. She is an advocate for our most vulnerable online and in real time. So buckle up, because today we are going to be talking about the sex trade, facts, truths, the realities of what's going on one of the biggest trafficking, I think, if not, and we'll talk to Arden about this, platforms that I know, which is Pornhub. Many different groups are fighting against this Pornhub. And I want to know what Arden thinks about why it's so difficult fighting against this conglomerate of criminality. And we have so much more to talk about. So please follow and support all of Arden's work. She is, let's start with her website, which is soundinvestigations.com, Arden_Young_ on X, or Twitter, as I still call it. I date myself, Arden. And also, Sound Investigations. I just saw you're on YouTube. So welcome, Arden, to the Warriors.
Thank you so much, Lynn. Thanks for having me.
I mean, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. First, I want to say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays.
Likewise.
Where do we even begin, Arden? Seriously, where do we even begin? I like to say, here's what I like to say. Let's go and let's rock and roll. I started in the music business way before you were born. So, I know a lot about the showbiz, as we call it. First of all, let's start with a couple of things.
Yes.
What do you want to share about you? Who's Arden Young?
Well, I am in the midst of releasing an undercover expose on Pornhub. It is the first undercover investigation I have publicly taken ownership of. I've been in undercover journalism for a little bit now, but this is really the first investigation I've decided to speak on publicly. I with a friend, my friend formed Sound Investigations at the beginning of this year, specifically to investigate the online pornography industry, tech facilitated sexual abuse. And we decided to start with Pornhub. We read the 2020 New York Times article, The Children of Pornhub, and were inspired to investigate further. The article, for those who aren't familiar, it details victims' struggles to get their abuse videos removed from Pornhub, which was apparently like the hardest thing ever. And I believe some are still circulating on Pornhub to this day. Many of these victims were underage at the time that their videos were being circulated and monetized on Pornhub. And Pornhub, after this huge scandal broke about these videos, publicly changed their ways, so to speak, and enhanced content moderation on the platforms. However, we were operating on the hunch that things weren't so neat and tidy in reality, and there's still things going on that were unethical, secretive, scandalous, and even illegal. So that's what we set out to expose.
Well, there you go. It's like that, what, not a small feat. I have, look, we know it's people will say to me, why does this happen? Why is this allowed? It's a very simple answer. When there's a lot of money to be made, right? And that is the answer. They shut down companies. Their parent company, MindGeek, they have over 100 different sites, I believe. They're not going to give up money. That's the bottom line. So what do we do? Like, I'm always trying to get solutions, how we intervene, how we protect. What I find incredible is what you just described, Arden, so clearly, and that we have a government I consider complicit. We're talking minors, okay?
Yeah.
We have big tech platforms. Minors, I have worked with plenty of parents, family members. They can't get their children's videos down. All of the platforms are the same, Twitter, Facebook, Pornhub, forget it. I work with a lot of young women, older women, been up there for years, can't get them down. Let me ask you something. Let's go back a little bit. Do you want to talk at all about any of your experiences in acting? Because I had said to you earlier, I was right out of college. I started in the music business working.
Yeah.
you are a lot younger than I am, but I started in jingles, which was at the time creating real music. We used to do real music for television commercials. Of course, they don't do
Wow.
that anymore, but we'd hire,
Yeah.
orchestras and musicians full scale with ad agencies. And then I got into different producing and things like that. Very predatory, the whole show business,
Mm.
whether it's acting, whether it's movies, Broadway. What do you want to share? I know you started very young. Do you want to share anything about that? Because I am always trying to. Everybody thinks it's so glamorous and the glitz and all that, but we have to be very careful. Whether it's modeling, whether it's getting into acting, what would you
Yes.
want to tell everybody about all of this?
Well, being a child who worked in entertainment, who kind of grew up, at least in my teens, working on shows and auditioning and in acting classes and photo shoots and those types of things, I would say that it is no place for children in general. And I know that's a very blanket statement, but coming out of it, I really don't see a safe way, even with parental supervision, for a child to safely pursue work in the entertainment industry. It is a sad truth because there's many stories that should be told on screen that do involve children and need children portraying children in these films or shows. However, with how the system works in Hollywood, with um, agents and managers, with acting coaches, with photographers, even outside of actually working on set, I really don't see a way that a child could be properly protected. And I'm not even saying every single child is going to be preyed upon, but what I am saying is that no one you entrust your child with is going to be looking out for them in the same way that you would as a parent.
Excellent. No, excellent. And also, it's just such grueling work. People
Yeah.
don't realize, if you're a young kid, 12, 14, 16, it's tough, to stand
Mhm.
around all day or to be yelled at. Or I always advise as well, do what you want when you are 18. Look into it, but be aware of the pitfalls. But certainly it's no place for children. But as we both know, a lot of parents, push kids into this thinking it's so glam. And we know that it's not. I want to,
Yeah.
and that's what I find sad. I'm trying to educate parents a lot and caregivers, because I say caregivers a lot, Arden, because the family unit across the United States has changed. We have a lot of grandparents now raising children. We have a lot of older siblings raising children. So it's not strictly just, like parents anymore. We have
Mhm.
to broaden that whole description. I want to get into this Pornhub because, Arden, this thing has been a thorn in my side the last few years. We have been working diligently, many groups, certainly, working in Washington, trying to get the Report Act, on the schedule, get a vote, do
Yes.
something. You have gone undercover. Now, how do you get in there to go undercover? Well, anything you want to reveal to us. I don't want you to give
Yeah.
away anything that,
Um,
but I'm like amazed when I hear these people. I'll let you speak, but I was like listening to some stuff and I'm like, if they're going to do this criminal stuff, why are they talking to anybody about it? When we all have phones or we could sneak some tape recordings, like, I don't get it, but
yeah.
explain what's going on.
Well, we used publicly available information to see who worked for ALO, the parent company of Pornhub. And we contacted people online through various forms of communication, different platforms. And as far as why they were so open and obliging to all of my really like seemingly weird questions, I think that Canada as a whole just hasn't seen a whole ton of undercover journalism. These subjects were all in Canada. So I think as far as, being suspicious someone might record them, I don't think that was even a thought in their minds. I think here in the US, we're a little bit more familiar with undercover journalism. We've seen it more often in different industries here, and some of the employees might be more skeptical or paranoid. But in Canada and in the adult industry, and even in just specifically Pornhub hasn't really seen undercover journalism. So I really don't even think they thought to be suspicious in any way.
As you were saying all that, Arden, it just occurred to me, maybe they just don't care. Like maybe because there's no accountability, they seem to get away with everything that, we don't care. Maybe it's that kind of attitude as
Yeah, I
well,
mean, their
you know?
attitudes were pretty nonchalant about the business that they're engaged in and these employees that they're at least, complicit in. I don't think these employees are necessarily involved in making these very nefarious, harmful decisions, but they're another like piece in the machine that's keeping the company going. So yeah, like their attitudes are very nonchalant. It's just the way it works, not up to me, but that's just how it works. And this is the industry I'm in, and I'm just a tech guy. I'm not involved in pornography for the most part. Is the kind of people that I recorded, but yeah, there's a certain culture in that generation, and I think it's also like the environment of Montreal, just the culture there. It's very pro sex in a way that, for me, like I consider myself a pro sex person, but it's pro sex in a way where it's like actually just pro pornography, pro sexualization, no matter what kind, I guess I would say. And they just live in a culture where anything's acceptable.
Okay, now you opened it up. Now when you say I'm pro sex, what do you mean exactly by that? Describe what you
I
mean.
think sex is a good thing. I
Well, who
think,
doesn't?
yeah. And, but
in,
I
in
think,
in a certain realm, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I say that in a way because people who advocate for regulations on the adult industry are often accused by the adult industry of being like anti-sex, anti-porn purists who are really into like purity culture or whatever that means to them. But I in no way want to demonize sex or sexual desires. I seek to fight sexual exploitation via online pornography and these tech platforms who are literally monetizing it. That is my fight. I'm not trying to stop anyone from doing what they do behind closed doors if it doesn't concern other people.
I agree with all that. I just throw in for myself, anything that comes to children is against the law. Anything with minors, like that's the warriors. That's our focus on really how there is a war on for our children. And it's seemingly, despite a lot of noise going, whether to get a little political, if it's left, if it's right, anybody, a lot of noise, Arden, but not a lot of solutions or a lot of,
Mhm.
stopping this with minors. Because,
Yeah.
silly me, I thought anything with a child was against the law. But apparently, it's not, at least in the United States, because we have so much going on right now. Would you characterize, first of all, for those listening who may not understand, describe what Pornhub is? And then
Mhm.
would you agree with me in saying that it is a human trafficker complicit in trafficking?
Yeah, so I would say that Pornhub is essentially acting as a pimp. And so what Pornhub is it's a free tube site. It follows a business model similar to that of YouTube. It was made popular by YouTube where users upload videos. The difference with Pornhub is that users upload pornographic videos. So it's not your typical porn producer where it's studio content, where there's actors who have 2257 documentation that verifies age and consent on themselves, and they're shooting pornography with a director. A lot of the content on Pornhub is your everyday person having a sexual encounter, um, viewing a sexual encounter, recording it, and then uploading it online and monetizing it based on how many views it gets, how many ad clicks it'll get. So it really can be compared to like a YouTube of porn. Um, and essentially, there's a serious lack of proper age and consent verification on these uploads. In the past few years, Pornhub has updated its terms to require that a user must verify their ID with the website before uploading pornographic material. However, what's really common is that pornographic material often doesn't contain a person's face. So it could just be a body, the face is cut off, the face isn't in it, the face is obscured, whatever. And what Mike Farley said, who is actually the number 7 employee to ever be hired at Pornhub, what he said to me is that it's impossible to match a face on an ID to just like a body in a video. How do you match a face to someone's body parts? It doesn't even make sense. So these content moderators, if there are even enough of them, have the impossible task of not only sifting through however many thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of videos are being uploaded, but also how are you going to match this guy's face on an ID to this guy's body, or this girl's face to this girl's body? How do you know the age of that person? It's just completely impossible. And it's a way, and he admits it's a way for human traffickers and rapists to be able to upload and monetize their content through the site. And he says they're not going to fix it. They're not going to do anything about it because it would hurt their profits.
And there we go with the money aspect. But I was looking at that Mike Farley, who is the Pornhub product manager.
Mm-hmm.
But he says, and this is the quote, it can't be normal. It can't be healthy. Again, they like their paychecks. We have to keep going with that one. What do you think? But I want to get back to the child stuff, because that's what I'm so completely horrified. I'm horrified about almost everything, but there are a lot of categories. There are a lot of things with children that
Yes.
specifically they film I call them criminals. That's what they are who do this.
Mhm.
I don't even call them predators. I don't use the word pedophile even. They're like out and out criminals in my mind. That's what they are. They're, I'm always asking, where are these children from? Number one, where are they getting all these children? I'm talking about the young ones, teenagers. Still, I'm asking those questions, but it's a little bit different. We
Mhm.
have a lot of runaways and things of that nature. And then how is this allowed? Have you gotten into the kids stuff at all or heard anything about that? Because this is the component of it I like don't understand, because those are the big money makers right now. The younger, the more money. And with the advent of AI, artificial intelligence, Arden, I'm scared.
Mhm.
I've never been
It's
scared before. I'm
frightening.
scared about the deep fakes coming, all of that. What do you know?
Yeah, so the technology for these nefarious criminals, they're always going to be 10 steps ahead of
Yes.
anything the good guys, so to speak, can do to mitigate what's happening. But as far as in the context of Pornhub and children being unfortunately featured in abuse videos on the site, I really think most abuse happens within the home. And many times, unfortunately, you'll get an adult in the home who is abusive to a child, records it, and decides to upload it online to monetize it. And some of these children, you know, you could be 14 years old and it could you could look like you possibly could be 18, and some content moderator on Pornhub just has to make that judgment call. So I really do think there's so much room for error. I mean, Pornhub's own employees are admitting it, that they think there's still underage videos going on the site. There's just nothing that could be done about it, because how do you make a judgment call between someone who's 16 and someone who's 18? You just don't. You don't know. And also these pornographic advertisements being uploaded to the platform. Outside advertisers pay the parent company of Pornhub to be able to advertise on Pornhub. So I posed as an advertiser and called their customer care line and was saying, hey, if you find that I've uploaded an underage video, like what happens next? And they say that, well, if an underage or an illegal video is uploaded, we'll just let you know. Your account won't be disabled or anything like that. And we also won't report to law enforcement. So they're purposefully not reporting illegal content to law enforcement, including underage videos, because, and I think honestly, some of the advertisements are probably even worse than the content that's actually being posted to the site.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, because the advertisers are paying them. So there's that extra incentive to not reject anything an advertiser is attempting to upload. And we had a content moderator from their advertising platform in an undercover video tell us that they were told to judge whether a girl was underage or not on whether she was wearing makeup. I was wearing makeup at 12. I don't know about
Yeah.
you.
I was going to say, yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's what she was told. She was extremely disturbed by that. She said she would get calls all the time from girls who said, "Hey, this is me in an ad on Pornhub. I did not consent to this. Please take this down." And they get a ton of requests from like that, according to her. And she was actually so bothered by all the lack of concern for illegal material that she quit her job. She ultimately did the right thing and left the company. So that really sets her apart from other subjects that I've gone undercover to record, because ultimately she decided to leave.
It's tough. Let me, and then there's the flip side I just thought of. Pornhub used to have this argument that it could look like a child, 12 or 14,
Mhm.
but it was really an 18-year-old. They just look young. They went the other
Yes.
way too, and there is no way to, as you pointed out, like, verify this. We did have a campaign a few years ago. We were successful with MasterCard and Visa, like, not processing,
Mhm.
so that was good, and I thought things were sort of moving along. We were having some successes, and we've had with Pornhub. But as far as I can see, they just jump on, they rename it, they just keep going, they go out of business, they come back in business. It's like a never-ending, wheel going around, in my opinion,
Yeah. And
right?
you know, a lot of people don't know that Visa and MasterCard, although they cut ties with Pornhub and MindGeek, now ALO's free tube sites, they still do business with ALO's pay sites with like the studio produced content. So there still is somewhat of a relationship there that is mutually beneficial for them. So there is still more work to be done. And as far as these 18 and over people that are playing younger in these pornographic videos, as you mentioned. One of the people I recorded, he's a senior script writer for this pornography that's going on these ALO platforms. He told me that the ads that actually perform the best and make the most money for them are ads where boys are like 18 but appear to be 15. And he says the main audience for those are pedophiles and young teen boys. So they're knowingly producing these pornographic ads that cater to mainly, in his words, pedophiles and young boys, which does have legal implications because you cannot distribute obscene materials to minors knowingly. So that's one of the laws that we really want to pressure law enforcement to look into in regards to Pornhub.
What do you think of, law enforcement's response to all of this? We understand, especially the last few years, they're understaffed. They always say to me, "We don't have enough resources." I even digress. Big tech will always use the argument, all the platforms, for safety. We don't have enough people. We can't keep up with it. You pointed out, these criminals, they're always 10 steps ahead. Uh, just always remember this. I'm married to a lawyer. The law lags behind technology. That's just the way it
Mhm.
goes. What do you think about law enforcement and their response, lack of response? What could we be doing better, or how can we help them? Like,
Yeah.
it's always the same argument. We don't have enough manpower or woman power and resources. What are you hearing?
I think there's a lack of knowledge within law enforcement as a whole about porn in general, of how it works. And of course, Pornhub isn't making it any easier. So they're actually grouping themselves into these big tech companies. They're self describing as a tech platform rather than a pornography platform,
Yeah.
so that they can claim immunity under Section 230 on what is being published on their site. So they're posing as like publishers with basically no responsibility in the matter. And there is a criminal case going on into ALO, Pornhub's parent company, right now, and it's still ongoing. It's in regards to a relationship that they had with a former content partner of theirs who like trafficked, raped a bunch of girls, and many times contacted them while underage to groom them into pornography. And it was horrible. So now that there's a criminal case going on into Pornhub for like human trafficking. But unfortunately, it seems that they're in the midst of negotiating a sweetheart deal with the courts to be able to not be criminally charged and just, I guess be on their best behavior for a couple of years or whatever it may be. But it's still ongoing. We're going to see what happens. I think really the laws surrounding technology, like you said, are just so far behind. Law enforcement just really isn't sure what they can do. And especially against a company that has so much money and so much power and is worldwide. So as far as jurisdiction goes, it's really tricky. Yeah, it remains to be seen, but I know for a fact I will be continuing to contact lawmakers, law enforcement, attorneys general who have expressed interest in looking into it further.
There is a lot of interest across the entire country. They're really, not only the country, also globally. Like, we at the Warriors focus right here in America, but across the globe, there's a lot of people very interested in this. When we talk about Section 230, let's clarify to break that down. 1996, when the internet was basically invented, just says these platforms act as billboards or newsstands. They can't be held responsible for any kind of content you post, I post, anybody posts. So they get around the loopholes with that. We have had calls to update that, which I think is a good idea. I mean, 1996, a lot has happened, Arden, since 1996, especially with all this internet online. What do you think about that? Because I'm all for, because right now it's in their favor, any of these platforms. It's the way the law is written, right? I'm all for updating and pushing forth. I mean, we're in this world now. Again, I bring up AI. Not one tech person, and I know plenty and work with them. They're like, Lynn, we just don't know. Like, we don't know how to control
Yeah,
this. We don't have the laws. We don't have. So, what do you think about the Section 230? I mean, I think it needs to be updated. What do you
I
say?
think it needs to be updated. I think there need to be enhanced protection and just protection in general for any possible victims of image-based sexual abuse. And that could be something as advanced and weird and novel to us, like having someone's face superimposed on the body of a sex doll in a pornographic video. And that's something that people are seeing more often,
Right.
where a pedophile will actually perform a sex act with a baby doll and superimpose a real child's image and likeness onto this sex doll to make it seem like this is a real child. Um, so that is extremely, extremely disturbing and something that there must be protections for. We're seeing, you know, date rapes, revenge porn, which is when consensual sex is recorded but non-consensually distributed, and by like an ex-boyfriend or even a hacker.
Right.
So there's a huge array of possibilities someone could potentially be violated and exploited online using technology that there's virtually no protections for because the law is just too far behind.
It is okay. We always look for a silver lining. What would you suggest to let's say our youth? Because I used to always talk about high school and all this. We have to really go back now to, like, believe it or not, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth grade, and really start educating right then and there, age appropriately, about all
Mhm.
of this. I'm here in New York City. Arden, I'm astounded. I've seen girls walking down after school, yeah, like a group of them, maybe like in the eighth, ninth grade, lifting their
Mhm.
tops up on the street, and taking pictures of each other. And
Yeah.
And like, that's just like second nature to them. This is what they're doing. We work with a lot of teachers who report they exchange these nude images. They don't think twice about it. What would you say to our youth? Because I think that's really, I'm really trying to go forward and empower them. I know they're vulnerable. I know they've grown up online, but I'm really trying to get through to them. They're worth more than doing all of that. But it's tough when everybody's doing it. What do you have to say about all this?
Um, I'm thinking from the perspective if I could go back and tell my, eighth, ninth grade self, uh, what I would say now. And I think that is that your body is inherently invaluable. There is no amount of money, there is no amount of exchange for anything that is worth your body and worth giving your body to someone. Um, Especially something being recorded and monetized. So, I mean, you hear all the time, your body is your temple, your body is your temple. And you do not do business in a temple. The temple is inherently not a place for business, no matter if the temple consents to it or not. Sex is not work, work is not sex. Those are completely different things. And I hope the youth today really, really think about that on a deeper level. What are you doing? Not only can you severely be exploited and do things that you cannot take back, but on top of that, with technology added, you could potentially have to live through a sexual situation, whether consensual or not, over and over and over again for the rest of your life because it's on the internet. Into your 40s when you're starting to have kids, your kids could potentially see what you've been doing when you're 17 or 15 or 20. So think about that, practice some foresight, think about what a body is, and think before you act. It sounds so basic, but think before you act, and be careful about who you trust.
I like that. But you know what, Arden? I've learned lately we have to go back and like give out simple pointers to everybody, kind of thing. Just like think before you act. Like that is so, that's what we have to do. We have to remind everybody.
Yeah.
Because they're not thinking. I'm always reminding once a picture's out there, and we all do it. We all put pictures online, right? I know people are proud of their kids and want to put pictures, but once a picture's out there, it's there
Mm-hmm.
forever. And as you pointed
Completely.
out, with this AI, and they're going to put faces, and law enforcement, just recently, because I had a meeting on this last week, there was nothing they can do about that. If it's your child's face or your face, on this other body, this whole AI type of thing, there's no stopping this. So really, you have to think twice before you do anything, or take a breath, or count to 10, or do something, because
Exactly. Even if something's not even sexual at all, you have mothers who are posting the most innocent Easter
Mhm.
photos of their kids, of their babies on Facebook, and they're finding that these completely innocent photos are being posted on pornography websites for men to masturbate to. And I know
Right.
that sounds awful and I hate saying it, but that is the reality, that a completely innocent photo could turn into something the opposite for a predator, for a criminal, pedophile, and it happens all the time. And even if you have a private account available to only your friends, you don't know that person you met a few
Right.
months back who you don't know very well, or even that family member you don't see very often. You don't know if they're a pedophile or not. They could be screenshotting that and putting it
Right.
on whatever website. You don't even know. So be careful who you trust. I hate to say it, but basically trust no one but yourself and your spouse, I would
No, but
say.
Arden, I used to be like you up until about a year ago. I would be like, "Oh, forgive me for saying this," or "I hate to say this,"
Mhm.
but like, now I've decided we have to say these things. We're at the point where this is so out of control that we have to now be realistic. We have to just tell the facts and truths appropriately, and we have to shock people. I was always careful of shocking people. No, we have to shock people now because this is so out of control and so normalized in society now. All of this sexual stuff. whether it's, anywhere in the entertainment business, anywhere in music, society, online, in the schools. I know there was the whole issue with Pornhub and the trans. They were pushing out that. Uh, I don't know if you want to speak about that at all,
Yeah.
but let's get, I mean, you can speak about it. It was something like, let's get men involved in this and let's get boys or something, but there was
Yeah.
something going on, right?
So yeah, a senior script writer for the parent company of Pornhub. He mainly writes for like LGBTQ sites, gay, trans type of content. So he's the one who's writing the scripts for these pornographic videos. And he was saying that not only does he have a positive view of kids, like 12-year-olds, viewing pornographic content to find their sexuality, to educate themselves because they're pliable, but also that they purposefully market non-straight, so like trans, gay videos to historically straight viewers in order to expand their palette and what they're interested in to capitalize off them further. And he does use the word convert them, I believe, in a marketing sense, but effectively it's the same thing as converting someone sexually. So
Unbelievable, but not shocking with all this going on. Finish this up. What's your take on, how do you think the media
Mhm.
covers any of this? Could they be doing a lot better? Could they
They
be
could be doing a lot
feeling,
better.
of course, what about, they love the being here in New York, especially the Jeffrey Epstein story. Everybody's still talking about, because it was,
Yeah.
to them, it was money and kind of sexy in a weird way, and
Mhm.
getting a lot of clicks and likes on different platforms, news platforms. I mean, everybody kind of jumped on that one. Um,
Yeah.
we try to cover what I call the nuts and bolts, like we're talking about Pornhub, what's really going on there. And that's what we want to do with the Warriors, expose these other issues, get people to think about and take action. What do you think the media should be doing right now about all of this?
The media should drop the fear of speaking out against the adult industry because I think there's this whole cultural stigma that if you criticize the adult industry in any way, then suddenly you're not like a sex positive, free thinking person, or I don't believe in, they get accused of not believing in free speech because they're trying to regulate, by the way, a very unsafe industry. So, I think people who work in the media just need to not be afraid of being blamed by the adult industry, being called names by them. Um, and I do think it's tough for them because not only is the adult industry very powerful, but now they're trying to group themselves into just big tech as a whole, claiming all sorts of different immunities. So I think it comes down to not being afraid to go to battle with a huge company like Pornhub and speak out for what you know to be right. Like asking for regulations isn't trying to demonize everyone as a whole, it's actually just trying to protect people. And I know that even people who believe that sex work is legitimate work, which I personally don't, but I think they could also join in this fight too, where, making diminishing the chances of someone being sexually abused in a video and monetize and incentivizing criminals to monetize their criminal behavior, that actually protects these consensual actors further because they're consensually, whatever that means, participating in porn, being paid for it on terms that they agree with. So really, I do think it benefits everyone to get behind holding Pornhub accountable in this way.
Yeah, there's power. There's power in numbers, as we know. I'd also like, me personally, women in media to step up, because we do have studies,
Mhm.
Arden, different ones, but anywhere from 91 to 97% saying all people in the sex trade are forced into it, some form of coercion. Just to use that old analogy, this is not Pretty Woman with Julia Roberts. I work with plenty of women that tried to be like prostitutes here in New York on their own, and they were beaten by
Yeah.
police and gangs. It's like, no, going out and working alone, like you got to be part of a gang,
Yeah.
a ring of it. And people have to understand it's abuse. And the other thing I want to, before I forget, is people question me, these are not just videos. Again, I'm being very realistic here. A lot of these videos, this porn of just people having sex. Okay. It's not like the Playboy days. I'm aging myself a little bit here, but follow along. You know, a lot of these videos are horrendous content. They're very
Mhm.
abusive. They're, beating up girls, or they're strangling, and it's not just people having sex. We have to be clear here. It's filling this need of what's the next thing? What's the next thing? And that is my fear. The
Exactly.
public is habituated. We're normalizing. We know porn is available. So much of it, it's coming across kids' devices, the algorithms. Finish us up. What do you know about our 118th Congress, who's not passing any bipartisan laws about? Uh, you don't have to weigh in on this unless you want to or have something to say. I just want them to step up. I don't care if
I
it's right,
agree.
left, in the middle. I just want them to do something, protect people, protect children, protect images, and stop with their nonsense. You have anything to say
I
about that?
agree with you. This does not have to be a partisan
No.
issue whatsoever. And, like I've gotten pushback, support from either side about this. It's really not partisan. And I think both sides kind of have things to fear in supporting more regulations because Democrats, they tend to say, well, I'm not going to seem sex industry positive because I support sex work. And then people on the right will say, well, I'm not going to seem free speech positive because this seems like some people accuse people who support regulations of being against free speech, and it's like, well, you know it's not about that. That's all lies. Like it's just ridiculous. We can all support a safer place for the adult industry to exist. I think it always will exist. It's just inevitable, but we can make it safer for children, women, and men.
Well said. Finish us up. What's next for you? You're going to continue because we need you in this fight. We need you out there. You are at the forefront. Um, I am expecting so many more great things from you. What do you have cooking that you want to share with us?
Yeah, so we've released 7 undercover videos so far. That's over an hour of content total, so it's a lot. If
Yeah.
anyone here wants to catch up, we're gonna have probably another little bonus release, and then we're gonna take a break from releasing for a while to follow up with these lawmakers, with these attorneys general, just to keep the pressure going, keep this top of mind for them, because obviously they deal with a lot from day to day. We don't want them to forget. And then we're going to move on to our next investigation, which, we haven't even really brainstormed yet. So we'll keep you posted.
There's a lot out there for you to choose from. So absolutely. Well, soundinvestigations.com is the website. Also, people can reach out directly to you with
Mhm.
anonymous content or tips or whatever. That's at soundtips@protonmail.com. Is that correct?
Yep. Soundtips at protonmail.com. They could also email me at arden@soundinvestigations.com.
Interesting. I like that. I have to say to you, thank you so much for doing the work. You've just begun, I'm going to say, because I know you have a long road ahead of you. We need you. I call you, the true definition of a warrior. I am thrilled we got to speak. I hope
Thank
we
you.
will speak again soon, in the new year, because we have a lot more to talk about. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for all you do and for standing up for our most vulnerable and going out there and doing this tough work. Arden, happy holidays to you. Just have a wonderful, wonderful next couple of weeks. Onward to 2024. Thank you so much.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lynn, for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll talk again soon. Thanks, Arden.